It's time for WPIAL football in Wexford, Pennsylvania, as the Gateway Gators travel north to take on the North Allegheny Tigers. We wish you a pleasant good evening as we are high above right field at Newman Stadium. Adam Gusky, Vince Russo on the call for you this evening. Audio only due to North Allegheny regulations, as you see on your screen. A little bit of a delay getting today's kickoff started, and most of that had to do with the fact that there was a lightning delay earlier this evening that kind of pushed the warm-ups back a little bit, so the teams got a little bit of leeway to get things started. We were originally on pace for that 7:30 kickoff, but like I said, just a few minutes behind. And Vince, as we take a look at this football game, a big test yet again for the Gateway Gators. This time, it's the WPIAL District 7 6A champions. Last week, it was the 6A champions out of District 6.
And things didn't fare too well, Adam, for the Gators last week. A 55-14 drubbing at the hands of the State College Little Lions. Gators will look to try and improve upon that. We already saw that Chase Gabriel will be out tonight. Saw him with a sling on. I don't know, were you able to see if Kenny Lewis was over there? We'll see. Number 4 straps it up tonight and plays, but the Gators, another strong opponent here, and they're going to have their hands full with a team looking to go for a three-peat in 6A. Unprecedented success here for North Allegheny.
North Allegheny along the near sideline, they wear their home yellow-gold jerseys with the black numerals, the white pants, and the black helmets with the tiger paws on both sides of their lids. On the far sideline, Gateway all whites, black numerals, gold trim, and the black helmets with Gators in gold in cursive on the side of their helmets. As we're ready to get this one started here in the North Hills of Pittsburgh, kicking off, Pete Notaro, as we are underway here in Wexford, PA, and that one will carry out of the back of the end zone. And that's not a big surprise because North Allegheny, they've got a kicker headed to a big-time college program.
Yeah, Cian Kremsen going to be a part of the University of Alabama's football program. I was reading this week, he had to win multiple tryouts, had to go to Tuscaloosa, kick under pressure against other high school kickers across the country. It was, I believe, a 57-yard field goal that set him apart, helped him win that scholarship on the spot, and so someone who has a lot of pride in their craft, arguably the best kicker in the WPIAL, made a 40-yarder last week in the win.
Freshman quarterback Kuchakis is in the shotgun as he sends a motion man from left to right, tossing a screen to that left side where Amari Gans will catch it. He'll rumble his way out across that first down marker across the 30, forced out of bounds at around the 32-yard line as Nicholas Humphreys makes the stop.
There was a little misdirection there that we didn't see last week on the design screen there. Play action in the backfield, a couple fake handoffs, and then the quick dump off to Gans in the flats. Great blocking. He's able to move the chains.
Yet again, the shotgun high snap, bobbled by Kuchakis, but he gathers it in, scrambles to his right, picks up a little bit of a shoulder from S.J. Moorfield, but just a modest gain there as the tackle is made in the open field by a couple of gold jerseys. Leading the charge is Kyle Langdon, one of the two Langdon twins.
Kuchakis, one thing I really like about him, he's decisive. If a play breaks down, if a snap's high, if something doesn't go right, he doesn't freeze. As a freshman, he makes a decision there. He took the ball, got forward, got north-south, got a few yards.
Play action, screen yet again to Gans. Gans has a couple of blockers, tries to dance his way forward, but yet again he's met right near the line of scrimmage by Kyle Langdon, 6'1", 210-pound senior. And listed as both a tight end and a running back on the offensive side, so kind of an H-back there, but a great linebacker for NA.
Well, you see there a third straight play, not pushing the ball downfield. That defense creeps up a little bit and is anticipating. They read that completely, and now you are in a downfield passing situation in third and 11.
Kuchakis claps his hands, looks left the whole way, throws to the left, has an open receiver, and it's in and out of the hands of Jaden Stammer. The sophomore couldn't hang on, and the punt unit's going to have to come out for the Gators.
Ball just a little bit behind Stammer, the underclassman, but that's still one that he should have been able to come down with. And if he had been able to make that catch, there was no one within about 5 to 10 yards would have been able to get some of those all-important yards after the reception. Instead, the punt team has to come out and send this one deep.
Last week we saw Lococo punting. Looks like it's Sid Bryant, the reserve quarterback, who also plays outside linebacker for the Gators, back there to boom this one away for the team in white here on 4th and long. Punt away by Sid Bryant. Spiraling punt. Caught it around the 41-yard line, and 2 Gators are there to make the stop. Leading the charge for the Gators is Stammer. Also cleaning that one up for Gateway is Colin Ireland. It'll be 1st and 10 for North Allegheny with great field position at the 42.
Yeah, Stammer trying to atone for the drop, able to corral the punt returner quickly and make sure there's no appreciable return. As you said, Adam, already good field position for this North Allegheny offense. It's going to throw a couple different quarterbacks at the Gators. Early season, not uncommon here at the high school level to see a rotation of QBs.
Phalo, the first quarterback out there for North Allegheny, as he sends the wing in motion from left to right, and he'll settle on that left side of the formation. Handoff goes to Flaherty. Flaherty was met near the line of scrimmage, spun off of a tackler, picked up a couple before ultimately being brought down. Tackle on the play for the Gators by Tristan Houston.
Flaherty started the scoring off last week in North Allegheny's win over St. Francis's Regional Academy team, a 22-20 win. Had a short touchdown run. Brady Brinkley added another short run. And then Coleman Kraft, 29-yard reception touchdown from Faya, who we just saw in there manning the offense on that last one.
So like you said, a 2-point win a week ago for NA here at home as that pass is intercepted. It's taken away. Amari Gans down the far sideline. Tries to slide through the tackle of the QB as he's forced out of bounds, but the Gators have it with great field position right around that 20-yard line on the pick by Amari Gans.
Gans read that one incredibly well. Watched the quarterback's eyes and then stepped right in front of it, took that one away. Good break on the ball, good aggressiveness to come back, beat the receiver to the ball, and then a good return after to set the Gators up just outside of the red zone. Looks like they'll have it on the left hash at the 21-yard line. That's the kind of explosive play that this defense needs. They played well in spurts last week, and hard to fathom that with the amount of points that they gave up, but they played obviously a really good opponent here. Get a chance to strike early, take an early lead.
So it's 1st and 10, ball at the 21 for Gateway. As Gateway looks to the sideline to get the play call, offensive coordinator Donnie Hall over there calling in those plays for the Gateway Gators. The flag comes in. It'll be delay against the Gators. So that's going to cost Gateway 5 yards and pushing the ball back to the 26-yard line. So 1st and 15 for the Gators.
That's absolutely killer if you're the Gators. You get a turnover, you're a yard from the red zone, and you start the drive off by going backwards, falling behind the chains, getting off schedule. That's really frustrating for this Gateway offense.
Good snap this time as Kachakis tosses it near side right. Gann slides out of a tackle down the near sideline. He's finally shouldered out of bounds inside of the 20 at around the 16-yard line. Credit the tackle to Connor Frank, but a nice execution on that play by Gans to finish things up after it could have been a loss.
Yeah, really had to go down and get his arms under that one. Lost his balance a little bit too. Good job keeping the elbows and the knees off the turf so that he could keep that balance, and just a great job out in space, getting to that sideline, using his speed, and making this second manageable after it was 1st and long.
Just under 10 minutes to go here in the first quarter as the Gators go to the ground. It's Amari Gans. Nowhere to go that time. Loss of about 1 after picking up about 10 on the previous play on the screen. So it's 3rd and a half dozen for the Gators here in a scoreless first quarter.
That was something they struggled with last week as well, unable to run in between the tackles. This is a veteran offensive line coming back from last year, and the pass protection's been really good through 1 week, but the run blocking still has some room for improvement against some really good opponents here in the early goings of the season.
Offset pistol, play action. Little pitch forward as the pass was headed towards Casey Carter. Well-designed play, but a better executed defensive play by North Allegheny as the forward pitch was broken up by Lincoln Hoke, and yes, the son of Chris Hoke, the former Steelers defensive lineman, wearing the same number as Dad wore.
Hoping to follow that family lineage. Seems like every Hoke who's played at the high school level goes on to BYU. Remains to be seen if that'll be Chris's future as well.
Yeah, the junior 6'2", 260 pounds. Just under 9 minutes to go here on a stopped clock, 4th and a half a dozen. as Donnie Hall needs to take a timeout and talk to his offensive squad.
Timeout. Gateway, their first of the half.
So Gateway next week going to take on an old conference foe in the Plum Mustangs. They have since moved out of the 5A Big East and moved to that Northern Conference. So the Gators stepping out of conference on the road for the second year in a row at Plum, and that'll be a good matchup for Gateway. At least they'll be playing a 5A opponent.
That'll be a good litmus test. I mean, they're punching above their weight with these first two games, and certainly thus far in the early going of this one, just about 3 minutes in, the Gators have played well, and remains to be seen how this one will shake out. But certainly a tough task to play two district champs in a row from a classification above you. Next week they get a team that they historically have had success against in the Plum Mustangs. And I think that might give Gators fans a little bit more of a barometer and how this team might look going into Big East play.
So it's 4th down and 6 for Gateway with the ball inside of the North Allegheny 20 at the 17. Kachakis looks right, throws right, pass intended for Amari Gans. He reaches up the left hand but couldn't pull it in. Back there on the coverage for North Allegheny, Kyle Langdon, who's been all over the field defensively. Turnover on downs and the ball goes back to North Allegheny. So the Gators with the ball twice, come up empty twice. But they've shown some ability, at least with that screenplay, getting the ball in the hands of Gans and some poise from Kachakis.
That one just a little high on that pass. He was able to take just a little off it there. Gans did get a hand on it, so you could argue the receiver should have came down with it, but that one a little high. And the Gators come up empty after the big turnover and now got to go back to work defensively in a scoreless game.
Fela remains in there, the QB who threw the interception, and he'll go to the ground, handing it off to Luke Rohan, the 6'1 junior. Carries that ball out towards the 20. A gain of 3 brings up 2nd down and 7 as the clock winds down towards 8.5 minutes to play here in the first quarter.
This is a North Allegheny team that's got a lot of unanswered questions on offense as well. Talk about graduating a couple big-time playmakers in Logan Kushner and Kieran Boyd. I'm sure we'll talk more about them as the evening goes on.
And their leading rusher from a season ago, Alu Alu, also has since graduated. As the Tigers will go to the air, a deep pass complete to James Donaldson, who is still on his feet and finally will be hauled down by S.J. Moorfield, but not before Donaldson takes it inside of the Gateway 25 to the 24.
Adam, there's a real concern for this Gators team. Certainly you don't have Kenny Lewis in. There's a huge asterisk, but through the first contest and the first half of this first quarter, the deep ball and coverage on it for the Gators has really been a weakness. They got gashed a number of times last week over the top, and this week already here in the early going, you see it happen yet again.
Yeah, big plays were the name of the game last week for State College, whether it was on the offense or the defensive side. As Fela pumps once, tucks, runs, and will lose his footing. He got tripped by the 25, and he is down at the 24 at the line of scrimmage.
Gators will take that all day and catch a break. Good job by the secondary there, forcing the run. The play after getting gashed, they had to stand in there. Faya had all kind of time to throw. He was back there for 5-6 seconds. Good protection by his offensive line, and then didn't see anything downfield, just decided to tuck it and run. And again, Gators catch a little bit of a break.
7 minutes as the clock winds here in the first quarter. Still scoreless. NA threatening inside of the Gateway 25 at the 24. Both teams have had the ball deep in the opponent's territory as Faye is going to run this time, and nowhere to go over the left side as he's met by TJ Mitchell. Mitchell with the stop right near the line of scrimmage. It'll be ultimately a gain of 2 down to the 22.
Gators got bullied that first drive last week against State College, gashed by the run, and certainly they were aided by the starting running back getting tossed from the game last week, but the run defense really settled in strong, and they've really picked up where they left off from last week. They look sharp here in the early going. 3rd down and 8 for North Allegheny as they'll check to the sideline and get the play in from Art Walker and his coaching staff. 20-plus years here at NA is Walker. As that pass is high, but pulled in by Luke Rohan, and Rohan is brought down just shy of the 1st down marker.
As on the tackle, Jackson Smith, the sophomore linebacker, and that'll bring up 4th down and 1 for North Allegheny. And it looks like the offense is going to stay on the field at this point as Colin Moore comes out there.
I think this was a few yards further back. You bring out your incredibly talented kicker, but here, less than a yard.
And Faya lowers the shoulders, gets a nice push from that offensive line, and picks up the yard plus that he needed inside of the 15 towards the 14. So it's 1st and 10 for North Allegheny inside of the Gators red zone.
That's exactly what you want to do with a quarterback sneak. Allow that push to happen. You follow those guys, just sort of fall forward, protect the ball. Don't overthink it, don't overcomplicate it. Move the chains. Now NA set up real well here halfway through the first in the red zone.
So again, it's 1st and 10 with the ball in the middle of the field as Faya steps under center and sends a man in motion in Brinkley from left to right. Play action. Good ball fake by Faya, has a receiver open in the flat and into the end zone. It will be taken for a North Allegheny touchdown. The TD catch and run by Dylan Langdon. So those Langdon boys are all over the place on both sides of the field right now.
Yeah, a lot of energy, creating a lot of chaos out there, and they have certainly looked the part. They were talked about as being big-time contributors this season. Folks that this team looked to be leaders and doing the part here early.
PAT is up and in for Notaro. And with 5 minutes, 2 seconds remaining here in quarter number 1, it is North Allegheny 7 and your Gateway Gators 0. Good to have you along with us here on GatewayGatorProductions.com.
Well, that one's got a sting for the Gators. You go from having the ball 1st and 10 at your opponent's 21, you come up empty, and then you watch that offense methodically mix run and pass and find success both ways down the field.
Of course, there was that big field flipper that after the turnover on downs, North Allegheny went to the air and Fela found a receiver in James Donaldson. Donaldson took it down to the 24. 1 first down later, and into the end zone went North Allegheny. On the pass to Dylan Langdon.
Well, we talked about the Gators going to have to shore that up because one of their new conference opponents this year, Woodland Hills Wolverines, Scoop Smith, arguably one of the fastest, most electric players in Western Pennsylvania. And boy, this secondary continues to struggle against the deep ball. Cam Walters and Scoop Smith will have a field day later this year against the Gators.
And I really don't think there's any argument about it. Scoop Smith can fly. As that kick will carry into the end zone. At least this time it's not beyond the end line. But regardless, it'll be another touchback and 1st and 10 for the Gateway Gators at the 20.
For those interested Gators fans, try and find some scores throughout the night. We got the Wolverines and Penn Hills Indians playing. We talked about our crew off the air, how nice it's been these last several years with the WPIAL being more thoughtful around non-conference scheduling, that a lot of these local rivals have continued to play. You know, Plum not being a conference opponent, Gators still playing them. You've seen them more frequently play. Penn Hills, Woodland Hills, certainly they've kept Penn Trafford that entire time in conference with the Battle of the Bell, but love to see those rivalries here at the high school level, and so much in other areas like college you've seen them go away.
High snap through the hands of Kachakas. It'll carry all the way back into the back of the end zone. Kicked out of the back of the end zone. It'll be a penalty, but the result of the penalty is the same thing as the result of the play, and that'll be a safety. As the snap by Roberson Louis June goes through the hands of Kachakas, and it will be NA ball again after a single play for the Gateway Gators.
And ultimately for Kuchakis, it's a heady play at the end to kick that out, take the penalty, take the safety, instead of seeing the opponent fall on it and score a touchdown. Don't try to overthink it and get into a pileup in the end zone. Best case scenario, you
During
end.
the play, we have an illegal batting on the offense. The play results in a safety. The penalty will be added on to the free kick.
So simply that'll just move the free kick back a bit, which in all likelihood will lead to better field position for the NA Tigers.
Sure will, and this is going to be a punted ball. I'm sure we'll see Sid Bryant come out. We didn't get a chance to touch on it much earlier. Lococo, great on PATs last week. The punts, I think, left a little bit to be desired, a little wobbly. Didn't really get great bounces on it. So Sid Bryant comes out, and in his first punt, a little more arc on it. And you saw with Lococo, a lot of his were line drives. You really don't want to see that because it allows the return man to catch it in stride, get upfield quickly. If that ball hangs, gives your team a chance to get down, cover that. Hopefully results in a fair catch or a chance to flip the field.
James Lococo, the Gator senior kicker, 3 goals for him on Tuesday night. The hat trick for the Gateway boys soccer team as they got the overtime victory over the Butler Golden Tornadoes in a non-conference matchup. And that's one thing that you've got to realize if you're not familiar with kicking versus punting. A soccer goaltender is going to punt the ball more often and be better at it in all likelihood than a soccer kicker. I know I had a fraternity brother in college who punted in high school, and he could punt the dickens out of the ball because he was the goaltender for the high school soccer team, but he couldn't kick the ball well off of a tee or out of the hole. And this time it is going to be Lococo who's going to kick off, and because of the penalty, he'll be kicking off from the 10. It's a bouncing kick that'll carry to the sideline and out of bounds. So the officials have to have a conversation here and determine exactly where the ball will go. And off the top of my head, I think it's going to be the 35, 25 yards from where the kick started.
Free kick out of bounds on the kicking team. 5-yard penalty to be added from the end of the kick. First down, North Allegheny.
So instead of being the 35 like I thought, 5 from the end of the kick. Now, the end of the kick was more along the lines of the 37, but the officials spotted at the 35, which puts the ball at the 30, and yet again, North Allegheny well inside of Gateway territory. Second time in a matter of 3 plays.
Yeah, no kidding. Things going from bad to worse for the Gators. This one has a chance to get ugly. They got to get a stop here, try and dig in.
This time it's Fela under center, sending a man in motion from left to right, and he'll go to the ground, going left and cutting back right is Liam Flaherty, and he'll rumble his way down inside of the 20 to around the 19-yard line.
That's another North Allegheny Tiger first down.
Yeah, untouched until he got to that marker for the line to gain. Gators had looked pretty sharp against the run in the first couple drives. You wonder if they're a bit tired. I'm sure I don't need to tell anyone from Western Pennsylvania, but depending on if we have viewers from out of town, it is humid this week here in Western Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's been hot and humid all week long as Fela throws, and it is intercepted or no? Does Gans catch it? No. They'll say it hits the turf, but Amari Gans nearly had his second INT of the game.
That did look real close. They got a better vantage point than what we have up here, and Gans was turned away from us, so we saw his back, but would have been great to nullify this drive. Gators would have had a long way to go. He would have caught it inside their own 5-yard line, but as it stands now, 2nd and 10, still right on the doorstep of the red zone here.
Motion man from right to left, and it'll be a jet sweep for Brinkley. Brinkley is met in the backfield and brought down. S.J. Moorfield with the tackle. Loss of 2 brings up 3rd and 12.
Yeah, good job by Moorfield getting across, staying at home, breaking down, not over pursuing the jet sweep. Good job by the ends to push the ball carrier back inside. North Allegheny not able to get the edge there. Moorfield was just right there, right in position, right on schedule to clean that one up for a loss. Good play overall by the defense. Way to follow those assignments.
Just under 4 minutes to play here in the first quarter. It is North Allegheny 9, Gateway 0, as Fela sets up the screen, and Gateway read it absolutely textbook perfect as the pass went to James Donaldson, retreating and making the play. Roberson Louise June, who does his best to make up for the errant snap that cost Gateway 2 points a few plays ago.
If you're able to settle for 3 here. I think that ends up being a win after where this drive started.
On for the kick. Matsara, kick is up, and that kick is no good. Carried wide left. Had a lot of hook on that one. So the free kick back to North Allegheny ends up not costing Gateway any more points, but it is North Allegheny 9 and Gateway 0.
That's a big break for the Gators. You figure that the big-time D1 recruit will go out after making a 40-yarder last week and knock through the 37-yarder, hooks it to the left. All of a sudden, you bend but don't break there. Now for the Gators offense, take a deep breath. You're at your own 20. You're out of the shadow of your own end zone. Go to work, get into a rhythm, try to make something happen here.
Casey Carter, the wing on the right of the formation. They're going to hand off to Gans. Gans bouncing left, sliding his way past tacklers, and carries it out for a gain of about 8. There's a host of gold jerseys making that tackle for North Allegheny. At the bottom of the pile, it is Declan Flaherty, 6'1", 250-pound two-way lineman, the sophomore.
Sight for sore eyes for the freshman quarterback. You'd hope this Gators team is able to rely on that veteran offensive line and move people and run the ball effectively. Right there, they look great.
Toss comes near side right, trying to run a little slip screen on the quick play to Dyson Harper, and Harper is met and driven back. Based on that spot, no gain, no loss on the play. It'll still be 3rd down and 2 as the clock winds towards 2 minutes to play here in the first quarter. North Allegheny on top of Gateway 9-0.
This is something we saw from the Gators offense last season, a real infatuation with screen plays almost to a detrimental point. The defense has read it. Got to do something different now. You've already played your hand on that.
Carter Rathvon, parenthetically, is now in as the center for Gateway. Good snap that time, and Kachakas, the freshman quarterback, takes the snap, runs left, picks up 3. Gateway first down to the 31.
Really good play design on the quick delay quarterback draw. Drops back for a half second, then sort of puts the head down, knew exactly where he needed to get to. Everyone got him where he needed to be.
1st and 10 for the Gators. Kachakas out of the shotgun. Gans hesitates, driving, and then pulled back by a pair of Tigers. Looks like a gain of about 1 based on that spot.
You got to appreciate the commitment to the run game. I wonder at what point they try and take a shot deep here. Maybe a little play action here on 2nd down.
Parenthetically, it was Liam Flaherty on the previous tackle for NA, the outside linebacker. As the clock winds under a minute to go here in quarter 1. Snap just a bit awry, but pulled in by Kachakas. Tosses left, complete. Gans tries to turn the corner, can't do so, but still picks up positive yardage before being strung to the boundary. Tackle made by Dylan Langdon.
Are finding ways to get Gans the ball where he can pick up chunks of yards like that. Makes for 2nd and 3rd and manageable here for the Gators, trying to stay on schedule and keep themselves ahead of the chains.
Dylan Langdon with that tackle, also the lone touchdown of the game thus far as Gateway sets up the screen. The pass complete. Amari Gans off to the races to the 40, the 30, the 20, and he will be brought down at around the 15-yard line. But bad news is there's a flag well back behind the play. It came from the near side. We'll have to see what the officials have to say about this one, but it could negate a big play. It's going to be holding against Gateway.
Holding. Offense number 78. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot.
That's Malik Anderson, the guilty party.
Those are drive-killing penalties. You go from flipping the field, getting into the red zone for the first time offensively, now 10 yards from the spot. It's going to be 3rd and long. Now the Gators become one-dimensional. This North Allegheny defense will pin its ears back, try to get after the quarterback. And those guys in the secondary will be ball hawking, trying to take this one away after a couple pick sixes last week for the freshman quarterback.
And a timeout taken by North Allegheny. Now as we take a look back to that screenplay, well executed, good throw, good catch, and a good run by Amari Gans. And the front side blockers doing their job. The one big problem with that, Vince, was the fact that that backside tackle, Malik Anderson, from what I saw in live action, just grabbed a hold long enough and kind of held the jersey instead of the quick punch and release that you have to have on a screen.
And luckily, these things are happening during non-conference games. They're coachable moments. But this is supposed to be a unit that's supposed to be a real strength for the Gators this season. And it's hard, right? They're playing really, really tough opponents these first two games, playing up the classification. But the standard for the Gators every season is to compete at a high level, be a championship contender, and every game go out being a team that people don't want to play, that is physical but also incredibly athletic. We'll see if that line continues to gel as the season goes on. Certainly can't state enough that Chase Gabriel not being in the lineup certainly has them down a man, breaks some of that continuity they were hoping to have coming into this season.
And I hope I didn't misspeak earlier and hang that one on Roberson Louise June as we see Kachakis toss S.J. Moorfield with the catch and a Gateway first down as he'll step out of bounds out near the 50-yard line, a pickup of about 20 on 3rd and 15.
Great job by the freshman quarterback. Rolls out, creates a little bit of space, keeps his eyes downfield while doing so, and is able to put that one on an absolute rope.
Gateway checks to the sideline, and that allows North Allegheny to sub and D-back off, and Urschler here on 1st down and 10 for the Gators at the midfield stripe. Get back to that offensive alignment that I was talking about before the play momentarily, as Kachakis is going to tuck and run. Goes to that left-hand side, steps out of bounds after picking up about a half a dozen, maybe 7 yards, but a flag back behind the play. In fact, I saw a Gateway player, TJ Mitchell, lift up and body slam a North Allegheny player, and that came after the holding flag had already hit the ground. And it'll be Mbandi who's going to pick up that flag.
Yeah, I think he was out front trying to seal that edge and just got his hands too far outside. It was a good call. And another absolute killer for the Gators, who now find themselves behind the sticks again. They were able to get out of it with the long completion last time, but you just can't keep flirting with disaster like that.
Ultimately, it's an 8-yard penalty as the ball's pushed back to the 42. They say the penalty happened after a 2-yard gain. So Kachakis is in the shotgun here on 1st and 18. As Kachakis looks to the sideline, claps his hands, catches the snap, hands off, lowering the shoulder, driving his way forward is TJ Mitchell. And he will pick up a couple out to the 44, bringing up 2nd down and 16. As time winds down here in the first quarter, that will be the final play of the first frame. So it'll be 2nd and actually 15 when we start the second quarter. It's the North Allegheny Tigers 9, the Gateway Gators 0 after 12 minutes of football. Well, Gateway right now going toe-to-toe with the defending 6A champions in the WPIAL.
And honestly, for as many things that went wrong in that first quarter and how disastrous it could have been, be down 9 points with the ball near midfield. Not a terrible place to be. You still control your own destiny here with a chance to get back into it. We've seen Kachakis with a couple explosive plays using both his feet and his arms, and there's certainly no moral victories, but here in the non-conference, those are the kind of things you want to see. Your quarterback take good care of the ball, continue to grow. And we talked about it, Adam, off the air, but there's something to be said for a 14, 15-year-old kid who was playing against 8th graders last season. The speed of the game, the intensity, and a baptism by fire, playing two teams that bring a lot of talent back from championship seasons last year. And he's looked the part of a guy who looks like, if he continues to mature in this role, could be really, really effective for the Gators.
So, Vince, I wanted to get back to that offensive line alignment that I was touching on. I have noticed Carter Rathfon has been at the center position for a good portion of the evening thus far. He may have been the guilty party on that errant snap. I really wasn't paying attention that much to the offensive line at that particular time. But it does look like the way it's aligned right now, Roberson Louis-June is lined up at the left guard position with a sophomore, Rathbone, lined up at center. And over on that right-hand side, we've got K&M Bandy.
Gators certainly working their way through a couple injuries here early in the season and not pressing guys into action when these games don't matter a ton. You have to keep the caveat that, as we talked about last week on the air, wild cards will be determined by a WPIAL selection committee, and certainly these games I'm sure will be weighted to some extent. How much they weigh the first couple weeks of the season when teams are really breaking things in remains to be seen with this first year of the new criteria, but certainly renders each game meaningful to some extent.
First play of the second quarter. Kachaka steps up into the pocket, thought about tucking and running, but shedding a blocker and making the play for North Allegheny was Liam Flaherty. A sack on that play, a loss of 4, pushes the Gators back from the 45 to the 41, brings up 3rd down and 19. So the Gators in a big hole here.
This is the time where you got to be real careful with the ball here. Try not to turn it over. You're still in a position here. If you gain some yards, you can punt, hem your opponent in deep.
Kachakis looks right, throws right, looking for S.J. Moorfield, but they were not on the same page. That pass going far too far to that sideline. The incompletion brings up 4th and 19, and the punt unit comes on for the Gateway Gators. Sid Bryant will boot it away.
We continue to see flashes from the Gators, but just not enough consistency in what they're trying to do offensively. And maybe to some extent you could chalk that up to playing some real tough opponents the first 2 weeks of the season, but you'd still like to see them be able to punctuate some of these drives or some of these opportunities they've had early in games.
Gateway offensive numbers first quarter, 21 yards in total. North Allegheny 142 yards in total. Is that punt by Sid Bryant, not his best work, as that will be caught by North Allegheny down at the 35-yard line, where it'll be 1st and 10 for the Tigers. See some first quarter numbers for North Allegheny. 14 yards on the ground, 128 yards in the air. Gateway 25 yards on the ground and 46 in the sky for the visiting Gators. Scoring play, a safety for North Allegheny, and Dylan Langdon catching a 14-yard touchdown pass from Jackson Falo. And now the quarterback for North Allegheny is Brady Brinkley. And the sidecar to his left-hand side, and Rohan. Brinkley's going to run left. He's got some room. Picks up an open field block. S.J. Moorfield trying to track him down, and will do so on that far boundary. But a big pickup for North Allegheny in the process.
See the second quarterback come in and turn on the Jets there. Got to the side, and Moorfield just barely able to get to him. Made the touchdown-saving tackle. Did have another Gator in tow along the way there, and T.J. Mitchell. But not a great start, as they're able to absolutely flip the field after one play, go from the 35 down to about the 25 on the other end.
So nearly a 40-yard play there on the run by Brinkley, as that pass to this near sideline is incomplete. Brinkley trying to find Carter Melzer, the 6'3 senior.
Brinkley had 56 rushing yards and a touchdown last week in the win. Just about got all those yards in one carry here. Drew it just 4 times last week, 1 for 4, 11 yards. Jackson Feo was the main gunslinger for the week. Just 3 for 8 as well for 32 yards, though he did have the touchdown connection.
9-0 North Allegheny, 10:55 to play here, second quarter. The Tigers go to the ground here on 2nd down and 10. A gain of about a handful there for Rohan. T.J. Mitchell on the stop for Gateway.
Rohan, one of 5 different ball carriers last week that logged at least 6 carries. Brinkley at 10 for 56 in the touchdown. Rohan 9 for 55. Dylan Brokos had 8 for 33. Flaherty, who we saw earlier, 8 for 27 and a touchdown. And then Faya, 6 carries, 15 yards. So North Allegheny's got a lot of guys that they trust to carry the ball, including a couple under center.
North Allegheny checking to the sideline here on 3rd and 5 from the 21-yard line as Art Walker Jr. needs to take a timeout. Legendary name in the WPIAL. Walker both here at North Allegheny and prior to that at Central Catholic, and of course his father with huge success in his days along the sidelines at Shadyside Academy. Taking a look forward here on GatewayGatorProductions.com. We've got girls volleyball and girls soccer next Tuesday and Wednesday night as Bob Orquist will be on the call for those 2 games at Antamarino Stadium. And then we'll travel to Plum on Friday night as the Gateway football team takes on the Plum Mustangs. 6 days later, we'll have girls volleyball yet again as they take on the Franklin Regional Panthers. And then Gateway with their final of 3 straight road games at Kiski in conference action on Friday, September 13th.
That'll be the foray into conference play for the Gators, the first test on that side. I believe Kiski has Norwin tonight. We'll see if we can't track down a score in that one, but Norwin upsetting Penn Trafford last week. That'll be a really good test to see where the Cavaliers are. We're making a few treks up north this fall between Kiski and Armstrong.
Meanwhile, Plum and Penn Hills are in the Northern Conference, but Kiski and Armstrong are in the Big East Conference. Third and 5 here for North Allegheny. It's Brinkley in the shotgun. He's going to tuck and run, and he is met near the line of scrimmage, but the momentum carrying Kanan Bandy as well as Brinkley forward for a North Allegheny first down, a gain of 6 on 3rd and 5, and it's 1st and 10 again for the Tigers inside of the Gateway red zone at the 15.
That's so deflating for a defense to get to 3rd down. You got the play read, and you're just unable physically to make the tackle to get that offense off the field, and now into the red zone again. Go the Tigers.
Draw handoff up the middle. Rohan, I do believe, is Jackson Smith, the first one there on the tackle for Gateway. Be a gain of 3 to the 12. 2nd and 7 for North Allegheny. The ball on the left hash here in a 9-0 ball game. North Allegheny on top of Gateway with 9 minutes to go in the first half.
A couple of those out-of-town scores folks might care about that are Gators faithful. Woodland Hills up 7-0 after 1 on Penn Hills. Franklin Regional up 21-6 on Hempfield at the half. And Norwin up 20-7 on Kiski at the half.
Brinkley under center this time, and no motion into what amounts to a power I formation as the handoff goes to Rohan, and Rohan drives the pile before being brought down inside of the 10 at around the 18-yard, or rather the 8-yard line. It's TJ Mitchell on the stop for the Gators.
Penn Trafford also up 7-0 on Mount Lebanon after 1, and Latrobe up 20-7 on next week's opponent, the Plum Mustangs, about midway through the second quarter. Physical offense here for North Allegheny. They are winning that line of scrimmage, and they're not afraid to just run it right at the Gators right now.
Brinkley bobbled the fake handoff, was still able to corral it and carry the ball inside of the 5 to around the 3, where it'll be 1st and goal for North Allegheny. The Gators were able to make the stop, but after another first down for NA.
Good job with the RPO there to just freeze the defense. Quarterback fakes the handoff, keeps it himself, and there was a lot of running room there to knife all the way down to the 3-yard line.
Brinkley runs to the left-hand side and will carry it into the end zone for a 3-yard North Allegheny touchdown. And NA has claimed a 15-0 lead on Gateway. As Gateway can't get the offense going, the ball goes to the Tigers, and they put together a 65-yard drive.
You got to wonder if that defense is feeling fatigued. They've spent a lot of this first half on the field. The Gators offense has really struggled to stay on the field here in the early going, and if that continues throughout this early part of the season, Adam, you wonder if the Gators are going to see some more injuries on that side of the ball, or a deflated effort for a team that's got to try and stick in there while playing a lot of snaps.
Taro, 5'11", 180-pound senior kicker to kick the PAT out of the hold. We have a fellow senior wide receiver. Good snap, hold down, kick up, and that PAT is good. And with 7:27 to play here in quarter number 2, North Allegheny 16, Gateway 0. Good to have you along with us here on GatewayGatorProductions.com. Adam Gusky and Vince Russo on the call for you this evening. We talked about what's ahead for Gateway, and we said that they're at Plum next week and at Kiski in 2 weeks. But it'll be the Franklin Regional Panthers when we finally return home to the friendly confines of Antamarino Stadium on September 20th, and then back on the road at Armstrong before hosting Penn Trafford in the Battle of the Belt. Then we head back to the Wolverine on the road before wrapping up the season with 2 home games, 1 in conference, 1 out of the classification, as Gateway will play their 3rd 6A team of the year.
There'll be a lot of ambiguity jumping into this Big East slate. You'll have some of your usual suspects. I'm sure Franklin Regional and Penn Trafford will contend for postseason spots. Certainly a lot of hype for this Woodland Hills team that the Gators have met the past couple years out of conference play. So not a whole lot of mystery there, but you got Kiski, Latrobe, and Armstrong entering into the conference. Teams that the Gators have faced in the last few years at different points, but not in games that have had a ton of meaning. It'll be interesting to see how those shake out, how those teams adjust playing up from 4A.
Earlier you talked about Woodland Hills leading Penn Hills. Penn Hills, the team that will host the North Allegheny Tigers next Friday night, as NA will go on the road for the first time this year, as that kick carries out of the back of the end zone, and it'll be 1st and 10 for Gateway at the 20 yet again.
You hope that the Gators can build off of that intermediate passing game that they saw a little bit of success with during the last drive. And they certainly were able to get a few chunks from Amari Gams in the backfield as well. There just hasn't been consistency in either of those facets through the first 3 drives of the evening.
So it's 16-0 North Allegheny on top of Gateway with 7:27 to play here in the second quarter. North Allegheny, their 2 scoring drives, one 83 yards and the other 65 yards. The first one, a pass from Fela to Langdon, a 14-yard passing TD. Second one, a 3-yard jaunt for Brady Brinkley, who came in, the sophomore reserve QB. So Gateway will take the ball on the right hash on 1st down and 10. At their own 20-yard line, wearing their road white uniforms. Kachakis claps his hands, tucks, and cannot get back to the line of scrimmage. They'll say he ultimately does roll forward just before bringing the knees down, but a nice open field tackle by Ryan Logan.
The Gators receivers, without Kenny Lewis in the lineup, they're going to have to find guys that step up and are able to get open to allow Kachakis to get rid of that ball a little bit more quickly and move this ball in some chunks and keep them on the field, not put that defense right back out there.
High snap, Kachakis looks left, throws left, completes. S.J. Moorfield steps around a tackler, drives his way forward across the 30-yard line. It's a Gateway 1st down, as there's a host of gold jerseys there making the tackle for North Allegheny. The first one there was Declan Flaherty, the 6'1 sophomore.
Right on cue, Moorfield has been the go-to target thus far tonight. Has seen the majority of the targets overall from Kuchakis. See if they get Casey Carter involved here. He was the real bright spot from last week. Scored 2 touchdowns at over 100 yards receiving. He hasn't had the ball in his hands yet.
Yeah, Gateway tried to set up a screen to him, but it did not work out as the Gators set up a screen this time going to the right-hand side. The pass is complete to Tristan Houston, who wiggles his way forward out across the 35, to the 36-yard line before he is brought down along that far sideline. Nicholas Humphreys on the tackle.
The Gators are essentially using the screen plays like the de facto run game. They haven't had a whole lot of success in the trenches run blocking, so they're just trying to get it into backs' hands out in space and hope that those guys can shimmy, shake, and bowl people over.
Gain of 3 as Kuchakis pulls it out of the belly of a back and tosses it to the aforementioned Casey Carter, as Carter is forced out of bounds across the 40 at around the 41-yard line, brings up a third and very manageable with 5:33 to play here in quarter number 2.
They've done a good job. All of these passes have been less than 10 yards, but to different parts of the field. We'll see what they cook up here. So they got one-on-one coverage at the bottom here with Jaden Stammer. See if they go his way.
Kuchakis catches the snap, runs to the right, picks up maybe a half a yard as the Gators run that QB keeper to the right-hand side, and that brings up 4th. And while it's manageable on 3rd, it's a whole different story here on 4th and 2.
Yeah, you probably a little far to run the ball with how that's been going for you tonight, so you try and draw something up. My guess is they'll go back to the well with a screen pass here on 4th and short.
So 4th and 2, Kuchakis in the shotgun. He'll run to the right. He'll find Carter. Carter's got the first down and more inside of North Allegheny territory to the 49-yard line. They'll say he steps out at the midfield stripe at the 50, but regardless, a first down for the Gators, and they've got 50 yards to go to pay dirt.
Calm, cool, collected. The freshman able to get it into the hands of the sophomore and get a couple underclassmen connecting there to move the chains for the Gators. For the second time tonight, they've got a real threat brewing offensively, but still a long way to go. Can they keep this going consistently? Can they find different ways to get the ball into playmakers' hands without becoming too predictable and getting stopped up here like they have in the last few drives?
Carter the wing on the left. Kuchakis takes the snap, throws it down that right seam, and he will overthrow his intended receiver in Dyson Harper, the 6-foot senior.
I do like taking a deep shot there. That's not something we've seen, and just as it's important for the Gators to stay consistent with the run game and avoid becoming one-dimensional, you want to be able to take shots downfield too. You don't want that defense to continue to creep up, load that middle of the field, that 10-yard range, which is where the Gators have really been effective with the short passing game.
So 2nd and 10, Kuchakis off of play action, scrambles to his right, tucks and run as the play got blown up, and then as Kuchakis crosses the sideline, he gets shouldered down to the turf, and a little pushing and shoving on that far sideline as there was a late hit by the Tigers, and that's going to cost NA 15.
After the play was over, personal foul, defense number 20.
So that penalty goes against Kyle Langdon, 6'1" senior. Talked about the Langdon twins, big contributors for NA.
Just a little overzealous there. That hit coming just too close to the sidelines, and that kind of stuff has been an emphasis over the past few years at all levels of football. You just got to know a little push even is fine there, but putting the full shoulder, the full weight into a tackle there, that's sort of become taboo in football, and got hands caught in the cookie jar that time.
S.J. Moorfield motions from right to left. Kuchakis sets up the screen to the short side, bobbled and then pulled in. It's Tristan Houston down that far side. He'll pick up a couple towards the 30-yard line. Clock will continue to wind here on 2nd and 8 as the ball is marked at the 31.
That's a lot of work for 2 yards there. Houston bobbled that before catching it, was able to make a few guys miss, and then effectively tripped after a 2-yard jaunt forward. So the Gators falling behind the sticks here a little bit. See if they take another shot deep here, if they try to run the ball.
High snap pulled in. Kachakis tosses it to the near side left. And they'll say an incomplete pass. And I think Jaden Stammer, the sophomore, either he plain old dropped the ball, which is fine, but hopefully he decided just not to catch the ball because he was going down to his knees, and instead of 3rd and 10, it would have been 3rd and a dozen after a loss of 4.
And not sure, impossible to know for sure, but you'd hope that the football IQ shone through there because that was going nowhere fast. And that's one area where Kachakis can continue to grow, is putting some muscle on and getting that zip on the ball outside the numbers. We saw a couple hang up last week that resulted in interceptions.
Kachakis pressured, rolling to the right, settles his feet and throws, and the pass is incomplete as he tried to thread the needle between a few gold jerseys. S.J. Moorfield was the intended receiver. On the coverage for N.A. was James Donaldson.
Strong coverage there, took that one completely away. The bright spot, though, Kachakis does such a good job getting away from pressure. Doesn't panic, rolls out, keeps his eyes downfield, does a good job of balancing, pulling that ball down and running with it, and also trying to look to create with his arm even when plays break down. And as I think he continues to grow and mature, and as these receivers build chemistry with him, look for him to break plays open when they sort of fall apart at the beginning.
4th and 8, Kachakis throws it. It is caught by Dyson Harper, and into the end zone goes Dyson Harper on 4th and 8. It's a Gateway touchdown covering 31 yards.
There's just another flash from that freshman, and you wonder if they'll keep the offense on the field here. Down 10, try to make it a one-score game here with a little under 4 minutes to the half.
Well, Lococo is out there, at least for the moment, as Kachakis is the holder. So you could have some trickery with your starting QB holding this football.
I wouldn't like that, though. If it's a non-conference game, just send the offense out there to try and practice two-point conversions if you're going to do that.
Good snap, good hold, kick up, and that kick is good for James Lococo, and Gateway has cut the deficit down to 9, 16-7 with 3:42 to play here in the second quarter on a 31-yard touchdown pass from Elvis Kachakis to number 12, Dyson Harper. And the Kachakis to Harper connection was something that the 8th graders saw a year ago, but it wasn't Dyson Harper, the senior. It was Khalid Harper, the 8th grader, who's now a freshman on this varsity club.
There's still time for that. I'm sure that connection will become more relevant as the younger Harper hopefully develops and sees some playing time himself. But I tell you, once they get Lewis back in the lineup, Kachakis will have a plethora of weapons to throw to, especially with the emergence of Casey Carter here in the first few weeks. And that's really got to give you some hope for some real optimism for this Gators offense as they continue to advance. And overall, I think this team has looked the part more so than they did last week against State College. Certainly there have been some blunders and some errors, but they have held taut and kept this one respectable here.
So Lococo will kick off. Talked about it earlier. The Gateway senior kicker, 3 for 3 now on the season on PATs. Has looked okay kicking the ball, but definitely didn't get the job done great punting the ball last week, and that's why we've seen Sid Bryant a couple of times. The Gators have punted this evening. Lococo had a big night for the Gateway soccer team a few nights ago as he'll get underneath this one. The Gators trying to set up kind of a surprise onside on that bloop kick, but it's gathered in by NA, and a well-disciplined team catches it, carries it out towards the 44, where it'll be first down and 10 for North Allegheny. And Vince, you talked about the reimagined Big East Conference. As we take a look at that, a lot of new teams in that Big East Conference as Armstrong makes their way into the conference, as does Kiski, Latrobe, and Woodland Hills.
Yeah, a lot of turnover in the conference. You lose a few teams, a number of teams that were in last year, namely Plum, Hempfield, Norwin. The latter two of those three heading up to 6A. Plum, as you talked about, heading to the Northeast Conference with the likes of Pine Richland, North Hills, Penn Hills. Every 2 years we get things flipping around just a little bit, but good that the Gators will get the Mustangs next week in a non-conference game.
So North Allegheny here on 1st and 10. 3:38 to play in the second quarter. It's Brinkley under center, off of play action, rolls left, throws to his left-hand side, finds Melzer, and Melzer carries it inside of Gateway territory. He'll be brought down at around the 38-yard line before S.J. Moorfield and others make the stop.
That's the second time we've seen the Tigers roll out on the play action into the boot, and it worked really well for them. Able to find a receiver in stride across the field, flip the field, going from their own 40 inside the 40 of the Gators with still plenty of time before the half.
Time winding towards 3 minutes to play here in the second quarter. North Allegheny leading Gateway by 9. Handoff goes to the lone setback, Rohan, who is standing next to Brinkley, and he'll pick up a few inside of the 35 to the 34-yard line as the tackle is made by Casey Carter, the sophomore tight end and linebacker. Clock continuing to wind here. North Allegheny trying to take some air out of the ball and score before the half expires. Two receivers right, one to the far boundary left. Brinkley settles his feet, throws to the right-hand side, and a big collision is leaping up to try to catch that one was James Donaldson, but Mark Knight was there to lay the boom, and another Gator was there to knock the ball down to the turf.
I think the Tigers got lucky on that one, throwing that into double coverage, trying to squeeze that one in. I think if Knight gets his head around, he might be able to intercept that one.
And I was so used to saying Mark Knight making plays like that. That was Jackson Smith, who changed his number from a season ago. Last year he's wearing 19. This year he wears 10, lays the boom, makes the big play. There's no surprise with the way he's played inside linebacker as a freshman a year ago and here as a sophomore thus far. Brinkley rolls right, feels some pressure, runs to the sideline as some flags come in. 2 flags thrown, in fact, as Brinkley is forced to the boundary by the aforementioned Jackson Smith. 6'1", 180-pound sophomore. Third on the depth chart at QB. But he has certainly earned his spot as one of the top linebackers for Gateway.
Holding, offense number 50. That penalty is declined. Result of the play is 4th down.
Morty Ivy decides to decline that penalty, the Gateway defensive coordinator. Smartly so, as that brings up 4th down. And I thought there was a loss on that play.
There was.
Yeah,
there definitely was.
Yeah, the official on the near sideline who had the closer spot does spot it at the 35. So we're going to have a 52-yard field goal attempt here for Natero. Good snap, hold down, kick is up, and that kick end over end is good as he splits the uprights and gives North Allegheny a lead of 12.
Well, there you see it. Apparently, Nataro has hit from 72 in warm-ups. There, he didn't need quite that much leg, but that one might have been good from another 10 or 15. As that was a well-kicked ball from 52. That was a no doubt about it kind of kick from the Crimson Tide recruit.
So 2:08 to play here. A 12-point lead, NA 19, Gateway 7. Talked about Gateway's conference. Let's take a look at the Quad County Conference. And it's called the Quad County Conference because there's only one conference in 6A, and they cover four counties: Butler, Allegheny, Washington, and Westmoreland.
And up to 7 teams after having as few as 5 in the last few years. Playoff format won't change. The top 4 make it in, and you got some wild cards. I think a lot of folks think that this Norwin team might be legitimate at the 6A level and a contender to get into the postseason. Tristan Traveris coming back, a senior quarterback that the Gators saw last year. All first team Big East. They've got some real talent. They've kept some guys there that didn't go to Central Catholic. Certainly you do have Central Catholic. And Mount Lebanon, sort of a wild card. New coach this year, 2 years removed from some real success. What will they look like?
We're back to live action here with Just over 2 minutes to play in the second quarter. North Allegheny 19, Gateway 7. You talked about that QB at Norwin. We had an opportunity to see him play last year, and he is for sure the real deal, Vince. Even though Gateway ended up really laying the wood to Norwin on that rainy night in North Huntington, Pennsylvania, still a good showing by Tavares.
Yeah, their defense left a lot to be desired last year for the Norwin Knights, but offensively, they've got guys that can catch the ball, and they've got a guy who can sling it all across the field. A real bona fide commodity at the quarterback position, and so Gators won't have to face him again this year, but they'll have more than enough tests when it comes to quarterback play and playmakers throughout the season.
Kachakas in the shotgun. End around, S.J. Moorfield cuts it back and picks up about a yard. He made something out of nothing there before the tackle was made by Dylan Langdon. North Allegheny was in the backfield to shut down that sweep coming from right to left.
Yeah, they read that incredibly well. Had guys ready and waiting on that side of the field. Moorfield at least able to get back to the line of scrimmage, but there was no opportunity for that to be a big play.
Handoff. Amari Gans returns to the lineup for Gateway, and he'll wiggle his way back to the line of scrimmage, but no further. We're pushing and shoving after the play is over on this 3rd down and 9 as North Allegheny uses a timeout. They smell a chance to get the ball back and turn it into some points.
Hard to blame them. This Gators defense has been susceptible against the passing game. North Allegheny had over 120 passing yards in the first quarter alone. So if the Tigers are able to get the ball back, the deep ball is not at all out of the realm of possibilities.
Touched on what's up ahead for North Allegheny. They're at Penn Hills next week, and that's 2 straight road games for North Allegheny. So they'll be at Hempfield in a 6A game before hosting Norwin on September 20th. That's their next home game here at Newman Stadium, high above the right field. Vince Russo and I are on the call for you this evening. They'll be at Central Catholic and at Mount Lebanon. 3 straight road games as they'll take on Cannon Mac before hosting Pine Richland and Seneca Valley, 2 natural rivalries for NA.
And good to see the majority of games at 6A actually be conference games again for a change. Talked about they started with over a dozen teams in 2016-17 when they started the 6 classifications. Then got down to as many as 5. So you saw the majority of the season were non-conference games for these teams. Now that's tilted back the other way, which I think is a real positive.
3rd down and 9. Kachakas tosses Moorfield. He's going to throw. He's got Gans, but the pass is shorted, and Amari Gans turns into a DB and punches the ball away from a retreating NAD back in Connor Frank, who couldn't hang on to the ball, and the incompletion brings the punt unit on for Gateway.
Oh, and Gans had a few steps there on the DB. If Moorfield would have been able to get some more on that one, probably would have been able to, if not a house call, flip the field, as Gans was already out towards midfield when that one was thrown. So a missed opportunity there for the Gators, who now, not having taken much time off the clock with that passing attempt, will probably give about 1 minute and 15 seconds to North Allegheny. I don't know that the Tigers have any timeouts left, but they'll be able to move the ball if they get it back here.
High snap, Sid Bryant corrals it and gets it away. A spiraling punt that takes a bounce in front in favor of Gateway and will roll its way towards the 40 before it dies there. The whistle's blown. It'll be 1st and 10, 60 yards away from pay dirt for North Allegheny. It's a nice job by Sid Bryant with some pressure on him to turn that into a 40-yard punt for the Gators all net.
Yeah, probably the best one we've seen from him or Lococo this season. That's something they're going to need to have continue. The Gators, one area they've really struggled with these first game and a half is the field position game. Seems like they're always on a short field defensively, but got a long way to go offensively, other than the Amari Gans interception earlier that set them up at the 21. That kind of stuff can be make or break in some of these close contests as the season goes on.
70 seconds remain in the first half as the offense is back on the field for North Allegheny, and it's Fela back in there on the field as the quarterback for NA as he dumps that one down to the feet of an intended receiver along this near sideline. His closest to it was James Donaldson, and that incomplete pass brings up 2nd down and 10 from the 40 with 1:02 to play in the second quarter.
Yeah, there were a whole host of white jerseys converging into where the quarterback was, so good job by Faya to just live for another down. You're up 12 points here in the late goings of the first half. Things have really been going your way. The upside to try and get some points is there, but more than anything, you want to get out of this half without giving more momentum to the Gators than they already have.
Fela looking left the whole way, throwing to the left-hand side, and it's in and out of the hands of the intended receiver, Dylan Langdon, and the Gators dove towards it. Amari Gans couldn't get his paws underneath it, so the incomplete pass brings up 3rd down and 10 with just under a minute to play here in the second quarter.
Yeah, a little tip drill. That hit the left shoulder pad of the back and popped straight up into the air and just sort of hung there for what Tigers fans must have felt like an eternity. The Gators unable to get under that one, and the Tigers catch a break here on 2nd down, now 3rd and 10 from their own 40.
Conversations on the no huddle as Fela settles in the shotgun with a sidecar to his right, 2 receivers to either side. Fela looks right, now looks across the middle. Low pass in and out of the hands of the intended receiver, James Donaldson. He was bracketed in coverage by 2 Gators. The low pass hits the turf, incomplete, and that brings up 4th and 10, and the punt unit comes on for North Allegheny. And it's the first time we'll see Natero punt.
He had Flaherty in the flats pretty much by himself. No one really within 10 yards of him, but not the design of the play, and quarterback thought that they had an open receiver across the field, so they took the shot. So the Gators catch a little bit of a break there because there was an open receiver out in the flats that could have done real damage if they got the ball in his hands.
I think there may have been a personnel issue by the Gateway punt return team, so a timeout is taken by the Gators with 51 seconds to play here in the second quarter. It's North Allegheny 19, Gateway 7. We've talked about the conferences of the teams we're seeing this evening, but other teams in 5A, it's the Allegheny 6 Conference, which is, for all intents and purposes, the Southwest Conference in the 5A classification. No teams there have played conference games. Bethel Park Moon, a team that beat Gateway a year ago in the playoffs. The Peters Township Indians, who are the defending 5A champions. South Fayette, Upper St. Clair, who's a perennial power, and the Baldwin Highlanders.
How about Peters Township? A lot of folks think they might be a real good candidate to repeat here in 5A. They went down 17-0 to Cannon Mac last week and then put 42 unanswered points on the board and a win in that one. And what was their reward? I think one of the toughest, most physical teams in the region. It's Peters and McKeesport tonight.
Good snap, and the kick by Nataro is away. Takes one bounce. S.J. Moorfield catches it on the run at the 21. Out across the 40 to the 50. And he is tripped up and brought down at around the 45-yard line. Nice open field tackle by Nataro.
And that gives the Gators a chance here with 38 seconds to take a few shots. Try to get the ball downfield. You get the first down, go up, clock it. The Gators have a little life here. Makes the last 38 ticks a little interesting.
We have certainly seen some flashes of Gateway's ability to do things on both sides of the football. And at this point, I think it's just putting it together more consistently. Consistency is going to be the issue as we head towards conference play in a couple of weeks. S.J. Moorfield motions from left to right where he will settle. Play clock's down to 10. Kachakas flushed from the pocket. Throws it back to the other side, but he was looking for S.J. Moorfield. The pass was deflected and intercepted by North Allegheny. It went sky high, and Kyle Langdon came down with it for the North Allegheny Tigers, and that thwarts the late threat by the Gators in the second frame.
And with the ball at midfield, gives one last gasp to North Allegheny. A reminder, this team doesn't need to go too far to get into field goal range. They've got quite the boot with Nataro. So a disappointing end. The replay's being played on the Jumbotron. Just a tip ball. Tough break there for the freshman who'd played a real clean half compared to last week, but a really good job there by Jack Yachenko, the Princeton recruit who has a plethora of offers across the board, just getting his mitt in the way of that one.
Looking left the whole way, now stepping up into the pocket and tossing to that far sideline as Fela looks for Donaldson. They'll say incomplete, brings up second down and 10 from the 45-yard line. And as we get back to Jack Yachenko, you talked about the plethora of offers. I mean, if you mention an FCS team, he's got an offer from them.
He does. He'll be playing some Ivy League ball at the next level. He's put up some impressive stats in the weight room, and certainly it shows out on the field. But in addition to those gaudy stats in the weight room, he had some real speed there chasing down Kuchakis.
Fela looking across the middle, finds Donaldson this time, and Donaldson is wrapped by Sid Bryant and Jackson Smith. And Donaldson is brought down at the 37-yard line. Art Walker signaling clock it, which North Allegheny will do with 11 seconds to play here in the second quarter. North Allegheny on top of Gateway by a dozen. Right now the ball's at the 37-yard line, so it would be in all likelihood a 54-yard field goal from this point. So NA may try to get a little bit more yardage, but they need to make sure they can stop the clock after the play if they don't get out of bounds.
Good delivery on that throw. Quarterback took a real shot at the end of that one, stood in and was able to deliver that.
Low snap by Fela, looking to his right-hand side for Melzer. The pass is incomplete. Melzer did have a step away from Carlos Diggs, who has some D1 offers of his own, but NA couldn't make the connection, and it is 3rd and 10, and here comes the field goal unit. In all likelihood, this is going to be a 54-yard field goal. That's where it's going to be spotted by Joey Daluski, the holder. And Nataro will attempt a very long field goal at the high school level. Heck, at any level. This one is blocked by the Gators. It's rolling, spinning, and scooped up by Sid Bryant, who takes a couple of steps forward to the 25-yard line, and that'll do it for the second quarter. We go to the big game break. North Allegheny on top of Gateway, 19-7, and for all the things that went wrong for Gateway, they're still battling with one of the top teams in the WPIAL.
And they're a few breaks away from really making this a game. They have bent but not broken on a number of possessions, including that last one there with the blocked field goal. They've been able to generate a turnover. They've cut down their turnovers. They were playing a pretty clean half until that last possession and that tipped ball that got intercepted. And Gators' defense has looked physical. They have initiated a lot of contact. They've hemmed up getting burnt on. They got a couple passes over the top. Still a lot of work to do, but it's a young team. And at the end of the day, it's just getting into the postseason. Although the aspirations, I'm sure, to win the Big East Conference. The top three make it in for each conference. Then there's the wild cards as well. And you wonder, hopefully the Gators don't find themselves in a position being at the mercy of the committee, but hopefully they'll take into account that Gators have played some really tough competition to start the season here.
And as long as the Gators can handle their business in conference, it doesn't matter. And they do have a couple of non-conference games up ahead that are significantly more manageable than playing the defending district champions in District 6 and District 7 at the 6A classification. Well, again, your halftime score, it's North Allegheny 19, the Gateway Gators 7. We're going to take a pause, take a listen to the Gateway and North Allegheny marching bands. Will return later in halftime to get you set for the second half. Vince Russo, Adam Gusky, our producer, Lee Schaefer III, here at Newman Stadium. Again, your halftime score, North Allegheny 19, Gateway 7, here on GatewayGatorProductions.com.
Ladies and gentlemen,
after a lengthy lightning delay, we are 2 minutes away from getting the second half underway here at right field at Newman Stadium. Adam Gusky, Vince Russo on the call for you right here on GatewayGatorProductions.com. Halftime score, North Allegheny 19, your Gateway Gators 7. And as we take a look at some of the halftime numbers, one thing that really jumps off the page to you, Vince, is the fact that Gateway has 12 rushing attempts for just 2 yards in comparison. NA 15 carries thus far today for 83 yards. Passing numbers fairly similar, though, as the Gateway has accumulated 106 yards in the air in comparison to North Allegheny's 115. So passing game has been there, and we've seen that in spurts throughout the first 2 weeks. And we talked about it before we went into this lengthy lightning delay. You know, Gateway down by a dozen here at halftime, going toe-to-toe with one of the top teams in the next qualification up here in the WPIAL.
And a similar story to week 1 against State College, albeit one that's a little sharper for the Gators, which is what you want to see from week 0 to week 1. Flashes, both highs and both lows, but not a whole lot in the middle. So you want to see a little more consistency from the Gators. Still getting gashed a little bit on the big play, especially in the passing game. And then offensively, a turnover towards the end of the first half and an inability to continuously move the ball and pick up chunks of yards, especially as you just talked about on the ground. Real tough sledding there. There's only so many times you can go to the well and throw screen passes. North Allegheny was really coming around to those as the half went on. So this offense is going to need to get more creative, but bottom line for the Gators, it's also just going to need to move people off the ball and allow Amari Gans to hit the hole without already meeting contact at the line of scrimmage.
Resetting the picture for folks just joining us here on GatewayGatorProductions.com. Near sideline are the North Allegheny Tigers. The yellow gold tops with the black numerals, the white bottoms with the black and gold stripes on both legs. They wear the black helmets with tiger paws on both sides. Far side Gateway Gators, they wear their road all whites. White jerseys, white pants, black numerals with the gold trim and the gold helmets with Gators in cursive on one side of those helmets. North Allegheny will receive to begin this second half, as we will see James Lococo kick off for the Gateway Gators. Lococo thus far this season a perfect 3 of 3 from PATs, but the kicker on the other side really is the story. Peter Notaro, a 52-yard field goal to his credit this evening. He has looked rather impressive, and you can see why he's headed to Alabama as we are back underway here in Wexford, PA. And this kick will take one bounce and then carry across the sideline, so it'll be 1st and 10 for North Allegheny at the 35. And expectantly, most of the crowd has gone home, Vince.
Yeah, and the teams, I think even us up here in the booth, have to sort of get back up and get back into it after a lengthy pause, a little longer than usual, that halftime break due to the weather delay. Kind of curious as to why the Gators won't kick it deep, and they keep trying to sort of lob it 20-30 yards, get downfield quickly, but more often than not it's gone out of bounds and has led to great field position for the Tigers.
High backfield for the Tigers as they will go to the ground, and that's the tailback, Liam Flaherty, wiggling his way forward across the 40 out to the 43. A gain of 8 brings up 2nd down and about 2. Make it a gain of 8, 2nd and 2. As Carlos Diggs makes the tackle for the Gators.
So something that they did towards the end of the first half with real success, that I formation, using the fullback and just moving people off the ball. You wonder if they'll continue to try and take the air out of the ball up 12 with a little bit of rain rolling through now.
You can hear the wind picking up. We had some rain to go along with that lightning during the delay at halftime. As keeping it this time is Brady Brinkley, the QB. He slides his way to the left and carries it inside of Gators territory. Finally brought down inside of the 40 at around the 38-yard line. Tackle for the Gators made by Monte Lemon.
You can feel the energy is not what it was towards the end of that first half, and you wonder if these two teams will be able to get back to that elevated level. After a few plays, a few pops, you hope that sort of recalibrates, but there the Gators defense not looking all that aggressive on the lengthy run by the quarterback.
Brinkley, this time he's going to hand off for Flaherty. Flaherty finds a crease up the middle, still on his feet, and finally tracked down from behind by Tristan Houston. And Houston making that tackle after a huge gain for North Allegheny down to the 12-yard line where it'll be 1st and 10. And yet again, NA has the ball inside of the Gators' red zone.
3 run plays, and they've covered about half the field in that time. Not good looks for this Gators defense, getting gashed here early in the second half.
Brinkley pulls it out of the belly of Flaherty and will be brought down right near the line of scrimmage. A couple of Gators back there to make the stop. Amari Gans joined by Monte Lemon. A gain of 1 brings up 2nd and 9 from the 11.
I'm lucky that he came away from that just having to tie his shoe and feeling a little limp. He got sort of rolled up on at the end of that tackle, did Brinkley, and those are the kind of plays where you see tears in the knee and injuries that are lengthy and potentially season-ending, but luckily Brinkley pops back up and back in the gun for this 2nd down play.
Ball's on the left hash on 2nd down and 9. Brinkley hands off. Running to the left is Flaherty. He lowers his shoulder and is driven to the boundary by Jaden Stammer, but still a nice pickup for NA inside of the 10 to the 8-yard line. A pickup of 4 brings up 3rd down and 6 inside of the 10 with 9:29 to go here in the 3rd quarter. Tigers up by a dozen on the Gators.
And almost certainly 4-down territory this deep. Certainly you've got a great kicker, but there's a good bit of rain and wind, and you're moving the ball, so you look at a 3rd and medium, a little longer. You figure you don't have to pick it all up on this play. Wouldn't be surprised to see them go to the ground yet again on this play, just trying to get themselves 4th and short if they don't pick it up.
A motion to an offset eye backfield next to the shotgun quarterback. Driving his way forward is Liam Flaherty, and Flaherty's down to the 5, where it brings up 4th and about 2. And what you'd have to assume would be one of the best kickers in the state comes out there to attempt a very makeable field goal. Peter Natara from that left hash will be kicking a 21-yard field goal at this point.
His last attempt got blocked. It's been a mixed bag of results. Missed a 37-yarder, nailed the 52-yarder, then had the last one blocked.
This one up and good. And that stretches the North Allegheny lead to 22-7. 15-point advantage for the North Allegheny Tigers.
In the 3rd quarter.
Not a ton changes, though, for the Gators. Still a 2-score game, Adam. So after getting lit up on a few run plays, you anchor down and you force 3. Now if you can get a score on the board here, counter and try and lay the lumber, move the ball yourself, you get yourself back within a 1-score game here early in the 3rd quarter. But it's been the issue for the Gators. It's moving the ball consistently. They had the 2 touchdown passes last week. And another one this week for Kachakis, the freshman.
Next up for Gateway, on the road at Plum next Friday night. For North Allegheny, they will be on the road for the first time this year as they travel to Penn Hills. Penn Hills this evening taking on the Woodland Hills Wolverines at the Wolverina. And Woodland Hills had a 2-score lead right around halftime of that football game the last time we checked.
We'll try to find that one.
As another booming kickoff for Nataro, this time bounces into the end zone for yet another touchback.
Gators' opponent next week, the Mustangs. That game just went final. Latrobe, a new Big East opponent, defeating an old Big East opponent. Now 2 5A teams, Latrobe up from 4A. They're going to be an interesting team to watch, Adam. They got a couple big-time recruits. They got a linebacker going to Penn State. They played Aliquippa real tough in the 4A playoffs last year. That's a team with confidence, with expectations. They're 2-0 to start the season. So some of those teams that could surprise in the Big East and make life difficult for Penn Trafford, Woodland Hills, Franklin Regional, and Gateway.
Kachakis takes the shotgun snap, looks to his right, finds S.J. Moorfield, who slides past a couple of tacklers and is able to wiggle his way back to the line of scrimmage, but no further. So it'll be 2nd down and 10 from the 20-yard line.
I just don't know how many good teams are going to beat throwing screen passes 60% of the time offensively.
So after the ball initially spotted at the 20, they move it back to the 19. So ultimately a loss of 1 on that screen pass to the right-hand side. So it's 2nd and 11, a low snap this time, rolling through the legs of Kachakis. Can he cover it up in the end zone? No, he does not. And instead it's covered up in the end zone by the NA Tigers on the fumble recovery. Back there in the end zone. It's 44 now. He's not on our roster. So hopefully we can get that ironed out. But congratulations to him for that touchdown for NA, building their lead up to 28-7 with the PAT on the way.
Those are some of the things you hope the Gators work out here early in the season, but it's stuff we saw last season as well. Mental errors, lack of execution on some of the more simple components of the game, and it leads to points for the other team.
Snap, hold, kick, and the kick hits off of the upright. Hits off the right upright. So he has missed 2 kicks thus far tonight. 1 a missed field goal, that time off of the upright.
Not really of his own fault, but a blocked field goal as well. So 3 in the most technical sense, but 2 that are of his own.
Throughout the first half, we had an opportunity to take a look at the conferences in 5A, but never were able to get to that Northeast Conference. Teams both in the eastern suburbs and northern suburbs of Pittsburgh. North Hills, Pine Richland, Shaler, Fox Chapel, and the Penn Hills Indians and the Plum Mustangs.
This will probably be the most top-heavy conference we'll see of the 3. Pine Richland, a perennial contender. Shaler had a decent season last year, but lost some pieces to graduation. Penn Hills, always in the mix, but that's going to be a real wide-open battle for that 3rd place, and probably not a conference that challenges for wild cards, which will open it up for the other 2 conferences.
And another kick for Nataro, kicks out of the back of the end zone for another touchback. So Gateway yet again is going to start at the 20.
And worth revisiting after the last possession ended just seconds ago with that errant snap recovered in the end zone by North Allegheny. The rain is only starting to come down harder now. And so that's going to be a real issue and a real point of emphasis. You got a freshman quarterback. You've got a center that's already struggled snapping the ball through the first game and a half of action. You got to be real careful not to exacerbate that issue here deep in your own end, down 3 scores.
S.J. Moorfield, he motions from right to left. Kachakis looks right, throws right, looking for Harper. And that one too deep as 2 yellow jerseys back there on the coverage for NA.
Coverage on the play by number 2, Connor Frank, and number 6, Nicholas Humphreys. 2nd down and 10 for the Gators.
Clock stopped here, 8:07 to play in the 3rd quarter. The Tigers 28, the Gators 7. It was 19-7 at halftime. This pass comes near side left for S.J. Moorfield. He's got the first down on the 11-yard pickup tackle on the play by Connor Frank for North Allegheny.
Gators have had some success, that connection between Kachakis and Moorfield across the middle of the field, sort of in the soft spot of the defense, and then getting a few yards after the catch for a first down. See if that's something they can continue to roll with, that intermediate passing game.
Handoff this time, it's Mari Gans running to the right. Nice little crease for him there, so he'll pick up 2, maybe 3. It'll depend on the spot, but Gans is driven back. First player there, Colin Moore for the Tigers.
First contact made by number 10, Colin Moore.
That rain continuing to come down. Kachakis, a good job on that last one, being able to deliver the ball right on target to Moorfield, who was sure-handed Moorfield, sort of a throwback. See a couple receivers down there for the Gators with no gloves on. That's not all that common anymore. You usually see the receivers with the gloves, especially in the weather.
Toss comes to Amari Gans. Gans splits two blockers. He's across the 40, trying to cut it back at the 50, dragging a tackler with him, still on his feet inside of the 40, and finally brought down at around the 37-yard line. Big pickup there for Amari Gans.
Boy, when they can get him the ball in space, he really looks good. That's just been the issue thus far early this season, especially in the running game. Hasn't had much to operate with, but boy, when he's out in space, really electric.
Kachakis rolls right. Feels some pressure. He's going to tuck and run inside of the 40. He'll carry it inside of the 35. He steps out of bounds unscathed at around the 32-yard line, and a pickup on that play of 5. Makes it 2nd and 5.
You take that on first down every time. Cut that down in distance in half. Keep yourself on schedule. Heady play by the freshman quarterback, especially with the inclement weather that he's facing right now. Smart play.
Motion man Gans to an empty set. Toss to the left. Low pass is incomplete. Just trying to get underneath that one for the Gators was Julian Dancier. That brings up 3rd down and 5 from the 32-yard line with 6:28 to play here in the 3rd quarter. And Vince, you made a very valid point. Gateway right now has 4 receivers and a running back on the field, and nobody has gloves on.
You just don't see that in 2024.
Trips to the left of the formation. One receiver on the short side right is again Gateway. Shifts to an empty set. Kachakis bouncing off of tacklers in the backfield and ends up picking up a Gateway first down. He needed 5, he got 6.
He's shifty, Adam. He's real shifty. And that time allowed the defensive lineman to get upfield, was able to slip behind, shakes off one would-be tackler, but now down on the field, and hopefully just some cramping. As he got up, walked back into his position at the shotgun, and now just sort of falls and starts writhing in pain. You hope it's just some cramping.
Again, it is an orange ticket. The last 3 digits are 221. 72013
Talked about this while we had ample opportunity at the extended halftime. You know, is it diminishing returns when you return to the field in a non-conference, non-classification week 1 ball game after a lengthy lightning delay? You know, it gives an opportunity for everybody to get some more game experience heading into week number 2 next week as Gateway heads into classification play. Meanwhile, North Allegheny will remain out of their classification on the road at Penn Hills. But on the other hand, you know, you run the risk of potential injury, number 1, and number 2, you get tightened up. So you've got to re-loosen up. And hopefully that is the issue here with Kachakis, just a cramp. Hopefully he's back to his feet, being tended to by the Gateway athletic training staff. NA athletic trainers also came out there to check on the freshman quarterback, who certainly has a hitch in his giddy-up, but that is a all too familiar walk by Kachakis. Not a lot of movement in those feet, and that is indicative of some calves, hopefully, that have just locked up and no long-term effects other than have a banana and some Gatorade tomorrow and live to fight another day.
It's been absurdly humid all week, and I'm sure with this rain rolling through the air, it's just all that much thicker for these players down there. And yeah, you certainly hope that's all it is for Kachakis, who's played well this season, and you really want to see him get those reps in these non-conference games.
So it's Sid Bryant off the bench, one of the outside linebackers for the Gator. Defense out there on the offensive side of the football. And now as he tosses it over to Amari Gans, Gans couldn't hang on to it down to the turf. It goes. The incomplete pass brings up 2nd down and 10 for Gateway. Football is at the 27-yard line of the North Allegheny Tigers with 5:49 to play here in the 3rd frame. NA on top of Gateway 28-7. North Allegheny has scored 9 unanswered points, a field goal, and a touchdown with a missed PAT. Low snap, scooped up. Sid Bryant, was brought down well in the backfield. Couple of Tigers there and a big loss on that play.
And again, a Gators offense that was humming along, and then when it goes south, it just seems to go real south real fast. 2 negative plays in a row, and all of a sudden you're looking at 3rd and a country mile, back almost towards the 40-yard line, as you had mentioned, Adam. And you got a backup quarterback in who's not throwing the ball all night. It's raining heavily. It's a tough position to be in for your offense.
3rd down and 20 from the 37. Bryant looks left, throws left. He and S.J. Moorfield just not quite on the same page, as that pass was behind Moorfield. And that would have cut that at least in half. It was around a 10-yard pass, but that incompletion brings up 4th and 20.
There's a number of delays across the region tonight. One that we won't get to see at all is Aliquippa Bell Vernon. Both those teams took off last week, and that game called and will not be rescheduled.
Sid Bryant steps up into the pocket, hitches, throws, complete to Dyson Harper, and then he is tattooed as the ball comes out of his hands. Big hit by Connor Frank.
And he's still down. Hopefully he just got the air knocked out of him, but that ball was a little high. He had to stretch the arms out, and then he took a shot right to the ribs. Hopefully he's wearing some rib guards there, the pads you normally see receivers wear.
The new winning 50-50 ticket number.
That'd be another big loss for the Gators to have Harper out for any extended period of time, a D1 recruit, veteran on this offense. It's been a tough night for the Gators here.
And yeah, Vince, getting back to what you were talking about with that Aliquippa versus Bell Vernon game, a rare opportunity to see one WPIAL champion play another. That one at the pit in Aliquippa.
Both state champs, too, if I'm not mistaken, from last season.
You are correct there as well. That's a tough decision to make, call a game, but you're in a situation where the Lightning is coming, and Bell Vernon, they've got a heck of a trip to make from Aliquippa in Beaver County all the way to Westmoreland County.
That's a shame. One of many games that people were really salivating for. Another one that people thought would be close. How about Peters Township, 42-7 over McKeesport tonight.
Straight up the middle, a big gainer there for the NA Tigers. It's Luke Rohan picks up 8 as Carlos Diggs makes the tackle for the Gators. They'll actually say a gain of 9, so it's 2nd down and 1 with 4:30 to play in the 3rd quarter.
We'll see if NA just continues to try and take the air out of the ball here, up 21. Certainly had a lot of success on the last drive with it.
Back to the ground goes Rohan, and he picks up the 1st down and much more as he's brought down inside of Gators territory at around the 45. Elijah Fisher, 6-foot senior, makes the stop.
It's just been steady as it goes for this NA offense since they have, towards the end of the 2nd quarter, they got into this under center I formation, which honestly you don't see a ton of anymore in the WPIAL or at the high school level.
Handoff going to the right side. It's Rohan, and Rohan is wrapped by a pair of Gators and brought down. The first white jersey there is Grady Dunsmore, junior. And there's another Gator down. This time back behind the play.
Looks like that's big number 55, Roberson Louis June. Another player that the Gators can ill afford to go without. And this 3rd quarter is really starting to pile up for the Gators. When we talked about it, the degree of difficulty in asking players to really shut it all down for over a half hour then come back out, rev it back up. Talked about how humid it's been all week, and you're asking a lot out of these young athletes. And you just don't want to see folks get hurt, especially in a game that this early in the season isn't going to count towards the playoff standings or conference standings, any of that kind of stuff for either of these teams. And Louis June's still down, being tended to by the training staff. Gators already without mainstays Chase Gabriel and Kenny Lewis tonight. We haven't seen them in any action yet, as luckily Louis June up walking back towards the Gators sideline under his own power.
So it'll be 2nd down and 8 for North Allegheny. The ball at the 45-yard line. Handoff again up the middle. Rohan. Drives the ball inside of the 40 to the 38-yard line before the tackle is made by Jackson Smith.
Nothing complicated in what North Allegheny's doing right now. The Tigers are just lining up and daring the Gators to stop it. And Gators were able to do so deep in their own territory, but it's been tough sledding for them here in this second half, trying to stop the run.
Back to the ground yet again. As Luke Rohan carries it down towards the 30. They'll mark him down at the 32. Clock winds down towards 2.5 minutes to play here in the third quarter. Again, Adam Gusky, Vince Russo on the call for you here on GatewayGatorProductions.com. I want to thank our producer, Lee Schaefer III, helping us get things set up here for this audio-only broadcast. As to the left side goes Jackson Fela inside of the 30 before he is brought down.
On the quarterback keeper.
Down at the bottom of the pile for the Gateway Gators is Willie Anderson, 6'4", 265-pound junior two-way lineman.
Talked about this is a team that isn't afraid to spread the wealth when it comes to ball carriers. Had a half a dozen guys carry the ball a half a dozen or more times last week. They've continued to divvy up the workload this week.
Draw handoff, a lot of room up the gut for Rohan. Rohan still on his feet inside of the 5 and across the goal line for an NA touchdown covering 29 yards. But there's a flag down back behind the play, and it's holding against NA.
So we'll line up and do it again, but tell you, the tackling or lack thereof, the back half of the Gators defense leaves a little bit to be desired, and you wonder, is it rainy, it's miserable out, you've already had to shut it down, get back up. Well, can the Gators find the energy to try and match the intensity of this NA running attack here in the second half? So thus far, they're just getting moved off the ball. Nobody really looks all that interested in bringing the ball carriers down.
Now some whistles blow. Officials have to have a conversation. Taking a look ahead here on GatewayGatorProductions.com. Tuesday and Wednesday, we've got girls action. It's girls volleyball followed by girls soccer.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. Offense number 51. 15-yard penalty. Third down.
Jack Kachenko must have had something to say that the officials did not like. That's going to push the ball back even further. As this ball is all the way back inside of NA territory now at the 47-yard line. Getting back to that upcoming broadcast schedule next Friday at Plum before we've got girls volleyball. on September 12th. And then we've got football yet again on the road at Kiski before we finally head back for a few games in Monroeville versus Fox Chapel and girls soccer versus Hempfield and boys soccer and versus Franklin Regional at Antamarino Stadium for Gateway football. Ball up the middle. Nyack the ball carrier, I think. No, it's 36, not 26, excuse me. So that is Brokos, 6-foot senior. So the punt unit comes onto the field, and NA, who had a touchdown wiped off of the board.
Set to kick for the Tigers, number 9, Peter Notar.
Oh, good. That's a moth, not a bat. So something huge just flew into the press box, and it was fluttering pretty good, about the size of the palm of my hand. As that kick is away, and we'll take a bounce. And S.J. Moorfield, it deflects off of his hands, and N.A. will cover it up. Moorfield was running towards the football. N.A. was converging, and that was, a chance where if there's no NA players around Moorfield, you've got the right of way to scoop that one up on the bounce. But instead, there's too many NA players in the vicinity that are going to change your trajectory. And that ball off of Moorfield's hand, and for the second week in a row, a muffed punt turns into a possession for the Gators' opponent deep inside of Gateway territory.
I was just going to mention that last week it was a Gateway player touching a ball that they had no business touching, that was dead on the ground, surrounded by State College Little Lions players. This week, it is a poor attempt to go up and field a ball that's on the ground during wet conditions.
Yeah, that ball taking a couple of hops is up the middle. Yet again goes North Allegheny.
And Adam, those are things that are really concerning for the long run. No attention to detail. And with the schedule the Gators have this year, I don't know that they're going to have the run through the Big East they had last year, where they were able to go 5-0 in conference and then lost all other out-of-conference games. But let's say they even do. We have found that when the rubber meets the road, we talked off air about early playoff exits and disappointments over the past 5 years. A lot of them stem from these little moments in the game and the lack of execution on that mental side of the game. And the Gators, once again, big time blunder. They've had a few of them tonight.
The end of the third quarter, so we head to the fourth quarter. North Allegheny on top of Gateway, 28-7 here at Newman Stadium on the campus of North Allegheny High School in Wexford, PA. Looking ahead for this Gateway Gators team, and we've talked about it a bit already, but when you talk about Gateway heading into conference play in 2 weeks at Kiski, at home against Franklin Regional, a team that, while Gateway has gotten the lion's share of victories, they have certainly had their share of tough goes of it against the Panthers. Then they're at Armstrong, a new team to the 5A ranks, and then it's the Battle of the Bell on October 4th, and back-to-back rivalry games for Gateway, at home against Penn Trafford and at Woodland Hills on October 4th and 11th. Two big games that, as it stands right now, have an assumption of, does that play a part in how the conference shakes out?
Yeah, I think those last three conference games are going to be real big for the Gators' postseason aspirations, their conference title aspirations. Penn Trafford bounced back with a big win over Mount Lebanon tonight. Woodland Hills, we saw, was taking care of business against Penn Hills. Latrobe with the big win over Plum tonight. I think that's a team that's going to be competitive in the Big East. I don't know that they're going to challenge to win the conference title, but again, that's a team that's coming off of one of their most successful seasons in program history. They've got a lot of confidence. They've started 2-0. Gators are going to have to find some consistency here.
Second down and a couple down inside of the 10 at the 7-yard line, or make it at the 9-yard line, but it's a gain of 6. And it's first and goal for NA as they look to take advantage of a Gateway muffed punt blunder. This week it was S.J. Moorfield. Last week it was Tristan Houston.
It looks like they called the game. I don't know that they got the full game in. There might have been some weather in the second half, but Woodland Hills 26-6 over Penn Hills. Final.
Wiggling through traffic towards the goal line goes Dylan Brokos. They'll say he doesn't cross the goal line. A gain of 2 brings up second and goal from the 1.
Goal line by 24, Tristan Houston.
Tristan Houston makes the tackle for Gateway.
Just second down, certainly 4 down territory. Gators have their work cut out for them with their heels in the end zone, not even on the goal line with the ball spotted inside the 1 yard line.
Straight eye backfield. Hand off. And that tailback met in the backfield. Brokos, he was able to lean his way forward back to the line of scrimmage, but not cross the goal line.
By number 10, Jackson Smith.
Good penetration by Jackson Smith, amongst others. I also saw Sena Ekbadzi in the backfield.
Gators have the athletes. They got the talent. But when you're down this close, can you do it 2 more times?
Quarterback keeper this time, and a second surge, and across the goal line goes Jackson Fela. That stretches the lead to 34-7 with 10:24 to play in the 4th quarter. Second rushing touchdown for NAQBs today. Brady Brinkley had a 3-yard touchdown run back in the 2nd quarter.
The Tigers have really buttoned things up here in the second half, taking really good care of the ball after turning it over in the first half.
All 3 facets of the PAT worked to perfection that time and stretches the lead to 35-7. North Allegheny over Gateway.
North Allegheny extends their lead 35-7.
Reviewing the scoring from today's game thus far, 5:02 to play in the 1st quarter. Dylan Langdon caught a 14-yard touchdown pass from Jackson Fela to the Taro kick up and in, and Gateway was down 7-0. Follow that up with an errant snap that carries through the back of the end zone, and a safety puts NA on top of Gateway 9-0. Halfway through the 2nd quarter, the aforementioned 3-yard touchdown run for Brady Brinkley, and the PAT up and in makes it 16-0. The Tigers on top of the Gators, and Gateway got on the board with 3:42 to play in the 2nd quarter. A 12-play, 80-yard drive covering 3 minutes and 45 seconds off the clock, and Dyson Harper completing a 31-yard touchdown connection from Elvis Kachakas. PAT from Lococo made it 17-6. A field goal with 2 minutes to go in the 2nd quarter for North Allegheny, 19-7 at halftime, but it's been all Tigers here in the 2nd half. An Ataro field goal, a Flaherty fumble recovery for a touchdown in the end zone, and most recently a 1-yard touchdown plunge for Fela with the PAT up and in, made it 35-7.
Tigers have really separated themselves here in this 2nd half. Made adjustments that have clearly given them the edge.
Kick for Nataro. Carries across.
Kickoff out of
Sideline this
bounds. The ball will
time.
be placed at the 35-yard line.
The ball will be placed at the
First down,
35.
Gateway.
So it'll be 1st and 10 for Gateway, 65 yards away from their 2nd score of the game. We've seen spurts of this Gateway offense looking good through the first 2 weeks. So will we see Kachakas? It doesn't look like it. Looks like Sid Bryant is still in that huddle. Hopefully just some cramping that can't be resolved for Kachakas, keeping Sid Bryant out there in the QB spot.
Might as well get a look at the score the way it is at your backup quarterback. Get him comfortable with the first team offense a little bit here.
I think that's a good idea, especially last week when Kachakas actually didn't end up coming out of the game at all, even when the game was well in hand for State College. As a timeout is called, Gateway's going to talk things over. I don't think they had the proper folks out there on that field.
A lot to button up for the Gators coming out of this one. I mean, there's some things that you expected. There's some things we knew were going to be tough, facing a real quality opponent. But the number of times tonight that there's been lack of communication, getting the right personnel in the right place, bad snaps, penalties, things that have negated successful plays for the Gators, defensive miscommunications that have led to receivers being wide open, and then special teams gaffes. Special teams have not looked good through these first 2 games, and that's a pivotal part, as the Gators have really struggled in the field position game in this game. And there's another snap right on cue over the head.
This one over Sid Bryant's head. He's going to run to his left. He's going to try to make something out of nothing as he tosses it all the way over to that far boundary. 2 Gators were there. Good arm on the run by Sid Bryant to get in the vicinity of S.J. Moorfield and Jaden Stammer.
Incredibly athletic play by Sid Bryant there, rolling out, keeping his eyes downfield, and then making the smart decision just to get rid of that one. Get to 2nd and 10 unscathed. Some of the crowds filtered back in. Still a decent amount of folks here for the lengthy delay.
Toss to the left. Sid Bryant throws it over there. S.J. Moorfield breaking some tackles, trying to drive his way back towards the 40. And they'll say he gets to the 39. Bunch of NA Tigers are there, including Corey Pitts.
A heck of an effort there for the short gain. That pass has been there through most of the evening. Moorfield, a sure-handed target. I believe that's his 4th or 5th reception on the night.
Timeout, North Allegheny.
So NA takes a timeout here with 9:45 to play. So again, 9:45 to play here in the 4th quarter. The Tigers are on top of the Gators 35-7.
Both the Gators and Mustangs will be chomping at the bit. A couple 0-2 teams going into week 2, officially as it's called now, after last week being week 0. You hope the Gators can get back on track, really get on track for the first time this year. And I think you talked about, Adam, there's been some real flashes at specific moments here and there, but just an inability to string it together for full drives, offensive, defensively, and special teams.
Motion man, Amari Gans. Sid Bryant setting up the screen. Blocked well. S.J. Moorfield takes it out towards that first down marker, but brought down a yard shy, gain of 5 on that play.
Brought down by the Tigers, number 32.
So it's 4th and 1.
You figure might as well leave the offense on the field here.
4th down and 1.
Give yourself a chance to keep the ball. You wonder, what do they draw up here? They try and might not be expecting a run. Do you hand it off to Gans here?
Sid Bryant tucks, runs, drives his way towards that first down marker and muscles his way to pick up about 2.
On the scramble for Gateway.
He needed that second effort to get where he needed to be to get that first down, and good tenacity there by Bryant to push across and move the chains. Bryant's got some size. He's considerably bigger than Kuchakis. That certainly helped him on that run.
Snap bounces out of the hands of Sid Bryant. Now that wasn't a snap issue, just a little bit to the right of Bryant. That's something he's got to hang on to, but it slips through his hands. And after a very promising start to a drive as the Gators were pushing the ball forward, Sid Bryant with a big pickup on 4th down, loses the ball, gives it back to NA, and they'll have it 1st and 10 inside of Gators territory at the 39 with 8:33 to play in quarter number 4.
Hard to emphasize more than we have without beating a dead horse. That's just the little things that the Gators got to focus on. Limiting your own mistakes and not giving more opportunities to good opponents. We saw it last week against State College. 2 touchdowns off of interceptions. Big-time plays where the defensive secondary breaks down, gives up a big-time pass play. And you got to be a team that's hard to play against. The Gators traditionally have done that very, very well. These first 2 weeks, albeit against tough opponents, that hasn't been the case.
And the ball slides through the hands of the tailback for NA in Dylan Brokos, but it's covered up by North Allegheny, so it'll stay with the Tigers. 2nd and 10 for NA as the clock winding. 8:15 here in the 4th quarter.
Adam, I'll be candid. You can tell me if you think I'm off base. It just feels like there's no energy in this game anymore.
I concur, and I thought from the time that both these teams came out of the locker room, it looked like a glorified scrimmage.
It really feels like it at this point. I think both teams' execution is now reflecting that both of these teams are ready to turn the page on this and end this game.
Obviously, on the NA side, they've got a deeper bench, and they're able to substitute more liberally, as we now see yet another back carrying the football for NA. This time it's Nate Orlando, the 5'10 junior. Orlando picks up a handful inside of the 35 to the 34.
I'll tell you, it's a little younger. You see more 9s for the Gators than North Allegheny, but both teams have comparable rosters. You wonder how much longer you'll see many starters if both teams will start to go to the well and avoid any further injuries or risk of. Put some younger guys in.
Motion man from left to right for NA. Straight up the gut, huge gaping hole for Brokos. He'll pick up the first down and much more before being brought down by S.J. Moorfield and Amari Gans.
Something to keep an eye on. The corners for the Gators, even though this is big-time run opportunity, they got to avoid falling asleep. The receiver went into motion. Joey Deluski, the senior, and when he came across, he was completely uncovered, throwing his hands up in the air. If I'm North Allegheny, I think about potentially putting him back in motion if they lay off him again and allowing that quarterback to throw the ball.
Straight up the gut, spinning off of one tackler, but not getting past the second is Brokos as the tackle is made. Amari Gans involved in the tackle. Also in on the stop is Agbadzi.
Haven't heard much of the bands tonight.
Looks like the Gateway Band, they were out on the field getting ready for their halftime performance. We saw that first flash of lightning right as we rolled into halftime. And I guess they decided to go get on the bus and head back to Monroeville. NA, they stayed over in the band room, came back out right before the teams did.
It's a tough break to make the trip all the way out and then see one flash of lightning and not know what the evening's going to look like. And I don't blame them for getting those young men and women home at a reasonable hour. It's going to be a late night for these players by the time we wrap up here.
Brokos, the ball carrier, carries it inside of the 20 to the 13 for a first down. It's 1st and goal, and back in the red zone are the NA Tigers with 5 minutes and 10 seconds as the clock continues to wind here in the 4th quarter.
And no rush, letting that play clock wind with the big lead.
Rush 36.
Brokos brought down as he's hit hard at the line of scrimmage by Jackson Smith.
At this point, coach and those running backs are just saying, if nothing else, hang on to the ball. Put your head down, get what you can. The Tigers content to take the air out of this ball, move to 2-0 on the season.
Again, it's Brokos. Bigger pickup this time as he found some room over the left side. Tripped up as he gets to around the 6-yard line. Tackle on the play for the Gators by Julian Dancier. Down towards 4 minutes and 15 seconds to go.
Still a lot of time on that play clock. See if they allow it to continue to trickle down or if they snap it here right away.
Motion man from left to right. Easier Diggs stepped out on that motion man that time, but it didn't matter because all it did was open up some room up the gut for Dylan Brokos.
Number 36, Dylan Brokos.
About a 6-yard touchdown run there for the Gators, or excuse me, for the Tigers, and they step out in front of the Gators by 34 points. And with a PAT here for Natara, we will head into the modified timekeeping system, but it doesn't look like we're going to see Natara. Instead, it's going to be Ryan Palmer, the sophomore. No, excuse me. Palmer's the holder. He was standing for a while, and now it's going to be the left-footed kicker, Dylan Eichelberger, 5'10", 165-pound, left-footed sophomore. Snap, hold, and the toe kick. Up and good. And with just under 4 minutes to go here, the Tigers step out on top of the Gators, 42-7. Gateway has been outscored thus far this season, 97-21.
And you wonder, even though this is against supremely talented competition, does that damage the psyche of this team moving forward? Are they able to shrug this off and still look at themselves within the confines of the Big East and 5A at large as a contender? Or do they hang their heads? It's going to be really interesting to see what the resiliency of this squad looks like against another 0-2 team next week in Plumman, which you hope for the Gators historically has been a get-right game against a local, some say rival, some may not, but because the Gators have had such success against the Mustangs, and certainly they'll look to try and continue that after what's been a real tough start to this season.
And next week it is at Plum, then at Kiski. And for September 27th, the Gators are at Armstrong. So a couple of homecomings for you, Vince, as we head up the road northeast of Monroeville. As this one is boomed by Nataro, and this one into the end zone for a touchback where it'll be 1st and 10 for Gateway with the ball at the 20 as the clock is stopped for now. But once they snap it one more time, we will head into that modified timekeeping system, pejoratively known as the mercy rule.
Perusing the out-of-town scoreboard. How about this one for a late nightcap of high school football? Highlands 53, Elizabeth Forward 52 in 3 overtimes. That's an Elizabeth Forward team that lost to West Mifflin last week in a last-second touchdown.
Draw handoff. Ball carrier for the Gators, Tristan Houston. Tackle on the play for NA is Grant Gertie, the sophomore.
Not much left to say here. This one just a chance to get some younger guys a few carries.
Running the left-hand side is Tristan Houston.
Well, turned nothing into something. Houston got stopped up in the backfield, threw a quick stiff arm, was able to get himself free over the left side to at least get back within a yard of the line of scrimmage. That's still going to make it 3rd and long, deep in the Gators' territory.
3rd and 11 from the 19. The line to gain is the 30 as the Gators head left to right. Snap to Bryant. Screen to the left for Houston. Picks up a block. He's got the first down and more does Houston before he is shouldered to the boundary
Screen pass.
Tackle on the play by Janowiak. Clock continuing to wind here on first down and 10.
Houston, one of those guys that might be second on the depth chart, but has played some real meaningful snaps at the varsity level. Feels very comfortable stepping in there and having the ball in his hands.
Sid Bryant pulls it out of the belly of the running back, rolls to his left and dumps it off for Khalid Harper. Talked about him in the first half.
Made by 16, Cameron Kushner.
The tackle was made by Cameron Kushner. Gain of a couple for Khalid Harper.
This is the point in the night where you see some of those guys that you'll see them pop in and out of the lineup here and there in some real spot roles throughout the season, but it gives you a glimpse at what your program's going to look like season, 2 seasons from now.
Second down and about 8. The ball at the 38-yard line. The line of gain is the 46. Sid Bryant's in the shotgun with just under a minute to play here at Newman Stadium. Toss to the left-hand side, complete again to Khalid Harper as he'll wiggle his way across the boundary over there before being undercut by Kellen Frank.
Tackle for the Tigers by number 15, Max Kahino.
Nothing too complicated about that. Coverage is pretty deep. We'll just dump it off to the receiver in the flats quickly, allow him to get a couple yards after the catch. Creates a third and manageable here for the Gators and what might be the last offensive play of the night.
Handoff goes to Tristan Houston. He'll surge his way to the line of scrimmage before being driven back and down to the turf. And we're down to 10 seconds to play, and that will be the final play of the football game. Your final score here at Newman Stadium. North Allegheny defeating Gateway 42-7. The Tigers are now 2-0 on the season. Gateway is 0-2 as they head to week number 2 next week at Plum, looking for their first victory of the season.
We'll learn a lot more about the Gators playing at their own level of competition. But there's some concerning things here, I think, Adam. There's some mistakes that the Gators made tonight that were unforced errors that gave this North Allegheny squad more opportunities than they needed to be successful and allowed the Tigers to get into rhythm while the Gators struggled to find any sort of semblance of it themselves. And while I still have faith that this team can be competitive within their conference, you're talking about a team that always has championship aspirations, and there's some work to do if they want to get to that level. And I think they have the talent to do it, but there's some developmental things within this squad that we're going to need to see happen over the next 8 games to determine whether or not they really are a team that people can consider a contender in 5A.
Undoubtedly, and for back-to-back weeks, Vince, little building blocks here and there, but really nothing consistent to speak of for Gateway for the first 2 weeks of the season, with their loss last week at home to State College and this week on the road at North Allegheny.
And the last thing I'll add, Adam, is you really hope that these injuries aren't substantial. We've seen a few guys not suit up thus far this season. We haven't gotten official word on what the severity of some of those injuries look like for guys like Mark Knight, Chase Gabriel. You have Kuchakis stepping out, Kenny Lewis, and so those are guys you're going to need if you want to be a contender in 5A. And we've yet to see what that's going to look like, and we've yet to see this Gators team at full function as far as their health, so there's a bit of an asterisk next to what they look like here at 0-2.
Make sure you visit GatewayGatorProductions.com as we look forward to our upcoming week of athletics at Gateway. We've got girls volleyball and girls soccer this upcoming Tuesday and Wednesday before we're at Plum for the football game next Friday night. I want to thank you for joining us here at Newman Stadium on the campus of North Allegheny High School, where the North Allegheny Tigers defeat the Gateway Gators by a score of 42-7. The Tigers now 2-0. The Gators are now 0-2. And we will talk to you again next week from Plum High School. For our producer, Lee Schaefer III, and our color analyst, Vince Russo, I'm Adam Gusky. Thanking you for joining us here in the North Hills of Pittsburgh.